Alright, next segment is articulation. Now, it basically has nothing changed aside from maybe some more flexible joints. But let's go ahead and see. The jaw is on a hinge, so you can close up about that far. Uh, Open up about that far. There is a bit of an uh, overbite. Yeah, overbite. But it's not as bad as saying that as the Playmates 2014. So it can open about that far. The head, it looks like it's on a joint, but much like the previous incarnations, nope, it's not. I don't know why they keep doing this. Like they know people want to move the head, but obviously it's it's the same deal. It's the big square peg, and if you notice right here, that's a seam line, and if you push hard enough, that's gonna start splitting it, and it's gonna eventually unplug the entire figure. So I would not recommend that. However, the arms are able to rotate a full 360, mind you. It is worth noting that on this version of the figure, that there is no out and in motion. However, on the Titan Evolution figure, there is a swivel hinge, which why they didn't include it on this one is beyond me. But they did it with Shimu, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it with Godzilla. Maybe because he's a quadruped, but Kong and Scar King, I mean, they can crawl on all fours, so who cares? So there's nothing at the elbow and wrists. Nothing at the waist either. But there is a nice rotation here at the leg, which can go up about that far, back about that far, and no in and out motion, but can rotate at the foot, both sides. A little bit creaky, a little bit stiff. And this one can go up about that far, and backwards about that far. I gotta stop bumping into my camera. And the tail can rotate at the base of it. It has one singular ball joint. There's no wire in the tail, although I kind of wish there was, just to allow for a bit of movement. So when it comes to articulation, he is decently posable. He's about the same as the previous Heat Ray and Radio Tower Godzillas. And it's honestly fine, take it or leave it as you will. But honestly, it's rather rock solid. Next up is accessories, and unfortunately, they pulled a Ghidorah and did not include anything. Just kidding. He comes with a beam effect, which it's a very small beam effect. Probably because again, children don't really like the long accessories, but us collectors do. So again, I was initially talking about the beam itself. I was initially disappointed because it looks too flame like. I know it's radioactive fire, but there's a difference between this and this. This looks more plasma like, which is something I expect to see out of Godzilla. This just looks a little too toy. I know it's a toy, but when we go and go from this to this, not to mention they're up close to the same length, but it just doesn't feel the same. Also, this one feels a lot more brittle, although it is mildly flexible, so I would consider the beam itself to be a downgrade. However, what's considered an upgrade is the connection of the beam itself, so I guess it's kind of like a trade off. It has a much better looking peg and actually has a much better groove in the mouth, so you can actually open up the jaw. Oh, wait, that's as far as it opens. So you can actually plug in there and ram that thing right into Godzilla's mouth. And there you go. He's spitting out the beam. Now, I must stress that this thing has a great connection. Like, I'm literally holding it by its beam, and it's like not even letting go. If I try doing that with the regular Heat Ray Godzilla, then that's like gonna plop right out of the mouth. However, I also need to stress that it can also come at a bit of a cost, considering the fact that if you wiggle the beam, it also wiggles the top half of the mouth from the hinge of the jaw, which could eventually lead to some sort of pull and tear as throughout time goes. So, for some size comparisons, here he is next to what are basically, well, the only other GXK figure I own at the moment, the Playmates Shimu, and Godzilla and Kong from the first movie. And I did want to just bring this up that I know a lot of people will want me to compare these two. I will do a more in-depth video, but to basically summarize, I think that like overall he's an upgrade from him in a lot of different ways, but he has some things that I like about him more than the Godzilla Evolved. But as you can see, I don't own the new Kong with Beast Glove and Scar King or Psuko and Doug yet, but I do know how to get this. So that being said, there you go. And for the second round of size comparisons, here he is next to some other MonsterVerse Godzilla and Mechagodzilla figures with the 2014 Godzilla, as I mentioned earlier, and the two Playmates Mechagodzillas with the battle version and the standard version. And I did want to bring this up as well, that I honestly feel like, as far as like design goes, he may have been a result of him. Because, think about it, they both have elongated arms, extended range, bigger heads, red fins, and on a much more slender like build, allowing for better agility. And they both have some sort of weapon at the end of their tail. Of course, organically, there's no way you can really replicate this, so I guess this is the best way to go as far as like organically recreating Mechagodzilla. Obviously, you're gonna have something else to really counter the beams, or sorry, the missiles. But as well, I wanted to bring up the eyes on the 2014 figure, as I personally am believing that they definitely took the same eyes from the 2014 figure and put it on the new one. Like, that is strikingly similar. Same color, same shape, same basically everything. Also, just to throw this in, there's the old Mechagodzilla. And for the last batch of size comparisons, here he is next to the NECA Godzilla 2014, still my all-time favorite figure in the entire collection, and the Playmates Godzilla 2004 standard version. Or both standard, the 6-inch version. There really was no standard version, because this is standard. They never made a Spitfire or anything. And ultimately, while I do like this, I honestly kind of miss this. Also, it is kind of worth noting that his design kind of feels more inspired by 2004 with the much more slender build. Although, again, that could just be a result of Mechagodzilla, as he screams more MG than this one does. So, overall, what do I think of this figure? From its sculpt and paint, articulation, and accessories, it's an overall fine piece. I like it. I really do. And ultimately, this might be like the best Playmates Godzilla that we've gotten in a long time. Because while I do like Playmates Godzilla figures, they're just not my core of tea. You know, it's cup of tea. Core of tea. That's a new saying. It's just not my core of what I really want. I like hyper articulated figures, which is why I was so into NECA, but at the same time like them kind of as cheap as possible, which is why I didn't like Monster Arts. That being said, Playmates is not a bad way to go if you're looking for a much more casual figure experience or just want to buy something for your kids. Because let's be real here, this is a kid's toy and it will always be a kid's toy regardless of how you put it. But I also just want to say that if you're looking for a Godzilla Evolved, like, you must have one right now in your collection, this is probably your best way to go. Because the Titan Evolved, again, that's like a kid's gimmick toy, and the giant one probably ain't doing anyone any favors unless you want just a giant Godzilla. But then again, you can just get the RC Godzilla, because that has like better sculpting and better detailing. Maybe not so much posability, but that's an RC. But it is also interactable. But with that being said, that's my personal recommendation. I like it. Overall, I rate it 8.5. I'm going to say. I like it a lot. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus, accepting as your Lord and Savior today. I swear the gospel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone. God bless.